Hey, so it's Jon Ross from the automotive program at Parkland College. Today on Parkland Garage, we're going to take a look at some of what our motorsport students have been up to. So we're going to take a look at our Parkland Motorsport Learning Curve drag car. It's kind of been the key piece of our motorsport program for almost 12 years now. And so we're making some improvements with the vehicle, and these students that we've got here today are going to talk to us a little bit about what they've been doing and maybe why. So let's take a little closer shot here and see what they've got going on. So what we have here, maybe from the camera, looks like kind of a mess. We've got a lot of wires hanging out here. And basically what we've got going on is that, as you can see the logo on the throttle body there, that we're putting a fuel injection system on this engine. For several years we've run it as a carbureted engine. We were able to work out a partnership with Fast, and they provided a really good deal on a fuel injection system for this engine. And so this semester, the three students that we're going to talk to here have been working their way through this. Rumor is today that we're actually going to try and fire this up and make sure that we've got everything hooked up before they finish up the harness. So hopefully the next time you see this, the harness won't look anything like this. Maybe you won't even be able to see the harness, but we wanted to make sure that everything was good before we started cutting and splicing any wires. So Dontrell, you want to tell everybody who you are and where you're from and which part of this project that you got going on?
I'm Dontrell Lewis. I'm from Chicago, Illinois, and my part of the project was helping the guys get the fast system set up and the wiring diagram and the new fuel system. So that's what we got. That's what we're doing today.
So you're putting the intake manifold back on. We had the intake off so that we're trying to hide everything, right?
Yeah.
Make it look clean.
Yeah, we're definitely cleaning up a bit and cleaning up a lot of the engine bay.
What do you think? What's been the most challenging part of this?
The most challenging part was really like some of the wiring. That was the most
got a mess
challenging
over
part.
here, don't you?
Yeah.
A lot of wires.
Yeah, that's it. That was the really challenge part.
Okay. All right. Good deal. Well, thank you. We'll move on to our next student.
My name's Kyle Beaumont. I'm a freshman in the automotive program. I also have another degree in industrial technology, welding and machining, and this would be my fourth year here at Parkland. Came back again to use the rest of my GI Bill from the Marine Corps and enjoy the motorsports program a lot. And yeah, working on the Malibu is what we're doing.
So tell us a little bit about what you guys have been doing. We talked to Dontrell and he told us, his part of the project.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think you got going on here?
We've been doing a lot of changes to it, trying to clean up a lot, making it look more presentable, a little more professional. We made taking a lot of time to put mini brackets in the car. Not that we have any right now; they're all at the paint shop currently. But we took a lot of time making brackets and different mounts, so that way everything would be a lot more cleaner and look a little bit more professional. But we're still doing the fast system and working on this is the last step. We got the fuel system already ran in.
So you had to make every one of these lines, right?
We had to make every one of the lines. It came in a big box spool, a 25 foot, and we had to cut and make every one of these lines.
And every one of these wires has got a purpose.
Yes.
And you know what the purpose is, right?
Yes, they are all somewhat labeled with a little bit of background info that I have and the help of yourself and Adam. We're able to easily understand what everything goes to, and with the sensor class that we're in right now, it makes it very easy knowing which sensor goes to, what needs power, what doesn't need power, what we can hold off on just for the initial start, and what we're going to have to tie up in later.
Cool. Yep. Mm-hmm. Well, I can't wait. Hopefully it does run later today. So
absolutely. We're going to give it a go here in a little bit.
All right, thanks.
My name is Zach, and I'm working on the Malibu. We've had quite a few challenges with it as far as prioritizing what it is that needs done and what can hold off on being done. Things like the bushings in the doors we were going to replace, but just ended up putting them low enough on the priority list to be held off on, to focus more on things like relocating the coolant overflow reservoir to the back for safety, just so we don't have, if we do have an overflow, that it's not getting on the tires and causing a wreck.
Talk a little bit more about that prioritization. I remember at the beginning of the semester, you guys were all gung-ho, this won't be any big deal. What do you think? What have you learned along the way? What have been the issues that?
Well, some of the issues we've run into is stuff like we made the new bracketry and column piece to hold the fast boxes, the fast control system boxes, and when we made those, we realized that the oil pressure gauge pod wasn't really up to the standards that we were trying to set for the car, so we had to go and fabricate a new one of those. And then the radio delete panel was the same way. It was just kind of noticing things that we hadn't originally noticed and having to go through and fix more things than were originally planned on, and adding to the list that never ends.
Yeah, cool. Well, hopefully it's been a great experience for you. You're probably going to be a very competent wiring person by the end.
Yeah.
I know you brought some skills to us before that, certainly paired you up with this project very well. But I can't wait to see how this harness looks in a couple of days. But it's all tucked away and the car's running. So.
Yeah, that's actually why I chose this project. Is I like electrical and the idea of not only getting it running but making it look as clean and well hidden as possible is what made me want to do it, because I like that very clean, professional, you can't tell that it's not supposed to look like that look.
Okay, cool.
So.
Well, I can't wait to see the finished product.
Me either.
All right, thanks.
No problem.
Hey, so we're going to introduce you to our newest project that we've got going on in Parkland Motorsports. We've got this 94 Ford Mustang GT that was donated to us over the holidays, and the students really took an attraction to this car. It's a 302, it's a 5-speed car, really clean, had a little bit of rust that we repaired, but the students really enjoyed this. And I've also got 2 students that we're going to talk to that are Mustang fanatics. So the engine, we completely took this car apart. Interior, everything's out of this car. And the guys are bolting on some aftermarket suspension components. And so we're going to talk to them and see what kind of challenges they've experienced. And the goal is here, I think we got 4 weeks and this thing's got to be operational.
I'm Derek. This is my first semester here. And like John said, we're working on this 94 Mustang that was donated to us this semester. He said we took out the motor's rebuilt, we took out the interior and cleaned it up, got rid of some carpet. Now we're in the phase of putting it back together. And we got Dave here, he's putting on some coilovers, which is a new style suspension as opposed to just a spring and a shock. This kind of incorporates it all together. And just getting it set up right now, hopefully get the rear end today. Some of the challenges we've had, one of them, the car's been apart for a few months now, so it's just trying to remember where we put everything and where everything goes, and trying to make the new suspension work with the old car, and that's about it, really.
So some of those challenges that you were talking about, not only have we took this car apart, 3 months ago, but we had 2 different groups. We got a group on the engine and a group doing the rest of the car, right? So finding things, right?
Yeah, a lot of it, like he said, some parts are upstairs and some parts are in the back room, and so a lot of it was trying to find which goes where and what group needs to do what. And we're trying to not step on their toes, but we're trying to get it done because we got a car show coming up. We want the car to be in the car show, so that's one of the challenges we're having.
Let's take a little closer look at this shock system. So we talk about suspension and we talk about the benefits that we have with this. So this component is not only a new replacement piece, but we've got adjustability, so we'll be able to change the ride height of the vehicle, which is going to be important for us to get tuning done. This shock also has adjustability, so this knob right here will be able, we'll be able to change the shock rate, basically how stiff or how loose the shock is. And so we bought an entire kit from this company called QA1. So hopefully it's all matched pieces, it all works well together, was the goal that we had there. So, hey, but you've got a Mustang, right?
Yeah, I have a 2004.
2004 Mustang, and tell us a little bit more about that one.
It's a 2004 Cobra. It's got a 3.4 Whipple on it and a fuel system. And
you said Whipple, what is that?
A Whipple, it's got a big supercharger on top of it.
Supercharger, yeah, good deal.
And I also have all QA1 suspension that I put on my car. And so I had a little bit of experience coming into this project.
And I heard a couple of weeks ago or last weekend you went to an autocross?
I did. I went to my first one. I actually drove a Miata, and I learned a lot. I learned a lot about suspension tuning, which I think is going to help me a lot with this car, being as it's a lot heavier and it's got a little bit more power. So while I was at the autocross in Rantoul, we were switching out sway bars and we were switching out spring rates. So I think that's going to help me out a lot on this project.
Yeah, but you're kind of hooked now, right?
Oh, definitely, yeah. One time. It's way more fun than drag racing.
Okay, cool. All right, well, thank you.
Yep.
Hopefully in a couple of weeks, this thing will be on the ground running, right?
Hopefully.
All right, thanks. All right, so here's another project. Now this one seems new to a lot of people because maybe you haven't seen it recently, but this car's actually been with us for a couple of years. It was another car that was donated to us. It's got a pretty cool history, we understand. It used to be a road race car, and we're working to make it into an autocross car. So if you zoom in here on the engine, we've done some work here. Again, another example, we had an engine. This engine was hurt, had broken ringlands in it, so we had some compression problems, a ton of blow-by. Students rebuilt it a couple of years ago. We also had fuel system problems. This car sat for a very long time, and it's got a Bosch fuel system originally on it. Fairly expensive for us to replace and repair. So we found a Weber carburetor on eBay. Was able to bolt that on. We've got the thing running pretty well. We've got some other pieces, complete wiring system on the car that students are working on. But at this point, I think what we'll do is we'll get some of those students to tell us a little bit more about the challenges they've had.
My name is Jordan Butts, and I'm a freshman in the Parkland Motorsports program. I decided to join the program because I love modifying cars, and this program really shows you how to do that correctly. And not only that, it shows you how to modify cars specific to the type of racing you're going to do, whether it's drag racing, autocross, dirt racing. It's just a great way to get an overview of the race industry. And on this project that I was given with a couple other classmates, we've had a lot of things to do. When we first got it, it was running really rough, and we've established that it had a vacuum leak coming from underneath the carburetor. So now it runs, and we've timed it a little bit, needs a little more work. I think the biggest challenge and the most tedious challenge that we've had is the wiring. We've taken all of the wiring out, and we now have a huge chunk of wiring that we don't need, and then now we have a slim chunk that we do need. So going through all those wires, that's pretty much the most tedious process that I've dealt with so far.
Jordan, you're another one of the students that you're on the multiple year program,
Right.
and that's because you went through another program first,
Right. I went into digital media, and it's a really fun program. I did 3D design and graphic design kind of stuff, and I've always loved cars, and I did dual credit first in automotive, so now I was like, I want to come back, so I have 1 degree and want to come back to something I love doing.
All right, cool. Well, thank you. Again, as we've talked about all these projects, I know this car is pretty close. We've got a couple of details that we got to work out. We got to make the decision on which panel we want to buy, and then hopefully a couple of weeks we'll have this thing rocking and rolling. Yeah. All right, good deal.
All right,
thank you.
Thank you.
My name's Frank Ambrose. Today we're working on the roll cage for the VW autocross car. And so, I mean, what do you want to know about it? It's just simple.
Well, go ahead and talk to us about what's going on.
Well, for right now, what we're actually doing is cutting about 1 inch off this thing. And I don't know what else to talk about. So, yeah, I can't do anything. So, what ends up happening is, so, put that from there. Yeah. And then we're going to put it over there. So, yeah, you got to do it slow. You got to do it slow because then, heat up the metal. I do like the classes. I love pizza. That's like one of my favorites. I'm going to have pizza tomorrow. So, yeah.
Thanks for talking to us. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, hope to see a good project in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So here we are with our 4th project that we've got going on in the class. And so this is our crate late model we've had. Some of you may have seen this car either at Farmer City or at Lincoln Speedway. This car's a little different than the others. All these other projects that we've talked about are going to be student driven. Unfortunately, this one is instructor driven. The whole idea behind this car is that it does have a sealed engine. So the engine that's this car is factory sealed by General Motors. We don't get to mess around with the inside parts of it, but that makes for a relatively inexpensive way to go to racing if you can do that. So we're going to talk to the students about what they've been doing, and we'll be right back.
Even though I've been around cars my entire life, I still felt the need to further my knowledge and get a degree. Parkland College was really close to home. Jon Ross really went up and beyond anything I expected from any instructor. He was able to place students in really good jobs.
Parkland College is tremendously affordable when we compare it to other schools that offer automotive technology or other four-year institutions. We have a motorsport program. We do an annual car show. We have 100% placement with our graduates.
The automotive program at Parkland was outstanding. Watching your phone, you.
Hi, my name's Aaron, and I'm a freshman here at Parkland Motorsports. And this semester we worked on the crate cars you see in the background. So far what we did was we remade the fenders here and this door, and then also a couple pieces on top of the deck there. We hand cut all these pieces of metal out as aluminum, and then we had to bend them and rivet them to the car, back to where they go.
How cool is it to get to be able to work on something like this?
Oh, it's pretty sweet. You know, once you go to the track, then you get to see it in action, and it's just really rewarding to know that you were a part of that.
What are some of the things that you learned, or what are some of the challenges that you came across as you worked with this? Was there something a surprise that came up? Or?
Well, the hardest part was trying to unbend the metal after it had already been distorted, and then try and figure out how it goes together, and then retrace it onto clean metal that's new.
So you had to take the existing sheet metal that was damaged and figure out how to make a template out of it, right?
That's right.
And so we even got some lines on the car where we basically had to design this panel, and so there was a ton of thought that had to go into that, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, good deal. So have you guys got a date? Do you know when you're going to the track? Have we set that yet?
Very soon.
Very soon, yeah. There hasn't been a date set exactly, but hopefully we'll get the car out pretty quick and you guys can see it go round and round. So.
Yeah, today we just got done scaling it, so we jacked it up and rolled it on some scales, and then got all the corner weights set to where we need it. And that helps when you go around the track, though. You have to have the proper weight distribution so that it kind of drives itself.
Yeah. All right, well, thank you. We look forward to seeing this one go around, and then I'm sure that we'll damage these panels so that you can make new ones, right?
That's right, job security.
Job security. Good, thank you. Okay, so we've got a really exclusive opportunity here. We have George Clevenger, who has come out of retirement to be with us this semester in the motorsport program. And so George has spent a lot of time working with students, a lot of time working on cars, and tremendous amount of knowledge. And a couple of things that we want to talk about would be the driving characteristics of cars. So Aaron was talking to us about, we were concerned about the setup with the crate car, we were concerned about ride height, and we were concerned about scaling. And so we got this model here, and one of the things he said was that you're going to set this car up so that it will drive itself. Can you demonstrate what you think that looks like?
Well, that is, it'd be nice if it did drive itself.
It did drive itself.
And sometimes it looks like on the track like it's driving itself,
There
because
you
it
go.
looks like I'm not even there. But basically, because the way the racetrack is shaped and we always turn left, we can set the car up so that it turns automatically. By the way the suspension rolls, you can have some rear steer in the car. As the suspension moves, the wheels will actually turn in this direction
steer,
on the
right? So with
the
the
rear
gas pedal.
the rear of the car, as the car rolls over, will actually steer around, as well as when you are on the gas, the car will hike up. The rear end tries to drive under the car, which raises it and causes rear end to steer. So it literally does dynamically steer the corner based on
So it's
what you're doing with brakes and gas.
Right. So another thing that we talk about with our students is the idea of there's different ways that we talk about a car's characteristics out on the track, and so some of us that come from road racing, we talk about a car having understeer and oversteer. Typically in left turn racing or circle track racing, we talk about a car being loose and tight. Right?
Yeah.
So if a car is loose, with our model here, what does a loose race car do, and what does it look like?
Well, understeer and oversteer are exactly the same, or they're the same things we deal with. It's just that we're not educated, so we just call it loose and tight.
We got different terms
So,
for it. Yeah.
right, but it's the same thing. So understeer, when you turn the wheel and the car does not respond as fast as you want it to. So
you're
on
going into the
the
corner.
race car, when you turn the wheels like this, and you expect the car to do this, but instead it plows like a dump truck.
And we call that?
That would be tight.
Tight.
So it's pushing. So the car is pushing, or it's tight.
Understeer, pushing, and tight are all the same terminology
Yes.
for the same condition.
So basically, if you mess up, you hit the wall with the front of the car if the car is too tight.
There we go.
And if the car's too loose or oversteer, so it's too sensitive to the steering input, that's where the rear end will come around more on you. So you turn it a little bit and it comes all the way around, and then you hit the wall with the back end of the car. So you can ask the driver, was the car loose or tight, or you can look at which end of the car he hit against the wall, and you can figure it out yourself.
There you go.
Yep.
Now, we also know that the time that you've spent working on race cars, that there's been a little bit of research going on. And that research is something that I think we're probably ready to tell the community about at this point, right?
Well, in the racing community, and certainly in race car setup, there's a lot of debate. Everyone likes a car a different way. People will tell you that this change affects that, and someone else will argue the opposite point. So there's a lot of debate. So I'm not saying that this is the definitive answer, but I think you're referring
to a term
to
that describes the operating characteristics of a race car.
I think what you're referring to is swarping.
Swarping.
And I can't say that's my term. The first time I heard the term was uttered by Kenny Schrader, and he was talking about the car was swarping in the turns.
Can you demonstrate that with this car? I mean,
Well,
you have.
It's a concept that really has to be felt more than observed, but it's a cross between what some would call a wheel hop, which would be a longitudinal loss of traction momentarily, versus the lateral loss of traction where the car would hop. So it's something between wheel hop from braking and the car chattering is usually what it's referred to. So somewhere between a hop and a chatter, but the car would actually take one of those.
And it almost moves in a warp-like mechanism, right? I mean, the car actually begins to.
It has a roll.
Like a fucking Bronco.
It has some yaw. It rolls around the longitudinal and the lateral axis, as well as it's akin to porpoising. And if you've ever pulled a race car trailer or a trailer, you'll get in a situation, a number where the vehicle and the trailer oscillate, and it's like a porpoise in and out of the water, and you feel like you're doing that going down the road. Right. So swarping it has some of the characteristics of the porpoising, but it also has the chatter and the brake hop. So it's really hard to define, but swarping best can be overcome. It's not a characteristic you want, but it's best overcome if you just slow down.
Just slow down. The brake pedal fixes swarping.
Yeah. Wise race car chassis builder said you use the gas to go fast, the brake to slow down, and the wheel to steer. So when the car actually handles that way, you press on the gas to go faster, the brakes to slow down, and you steer it with the steering wheel, not the gas pedal. Things are probably pretty.
So we've got a ton of new terminology here. We talked about swarping, we talked about chatter, we talked about porpoising.
Yes, that's right.
Great. Well, we really appreciate you being a part of what we're doing. I'm glad that you made the decision to come out of retirement and help us out. And soon, hopefully, we'll see that crate car going around in circles.
Yeah, I think it's probably more ready than I am.
Okay. Great. Thanks, George. Hi, Jon Ross from the automotive program at Parkland College. My question for you today is, in the automobile, we use a gasoline engine. That gasoline engine works off of the 4-stroke cycle. I'd like to know, what are those 4 strokes and in what order do they occur? So the answer to my question, the 4-stroke cycle, the 4 strokes are, in order, intake, compression, power, exhaust.
cars on the road, people eventually need to get those vehicles fixed. And that's why a well-trained auto technician will always have a job. Parkland College in Champaign has several 1 to 2 year nationally certified training programs in automotive technology and collision repair. You'll get hands-on training by experts and assistance with job placement after your coursework. Check out a well-paying career in automotive technology. Call Parkland College for more information at 217-351-2482.
It's time to change my life, make the most of me. I'm gonna go to Parkland